Welcome to Trucks. Now, a few weeks ago, we started a buildup on a 99 GMC Sierra. Not this. We're going to deal with this a little bit later. It's on over here. Now, the first thing we did was whack out the roof, put in a sliding rag top, jacked it up 6 inches, and put on 35-inch tall tires. This week, we're going to finish it up. We're going to put on some equipment that'll make Project High Sierra a great vehicle for any kind of outdoor enthusiast. Now, the best part about having a truck is you've got a bed to carry all your junk stuff. Of course, a couple drawbacks to having a bed is, number one, people can steal stuff out of it, like that toolbox. Number two, all your stuff is open to the elements, which means it's going to get rained on. So the only way to fix that is to put on some sort of a cap or a rack, and that is exactly what we're going to do. You know, there's a lot of nice hard caps out there, but we wanted something different, something a lot more versatile. So we went to Canback and got one of their really slick canvas covers. And as you can see, this is a complete departure from a hard fiberglass cap. It actually looks more like a tent. And we've got all kinds of bracing. You've got hoops and hardware to support the top. And then you've got a really nice thick piece of canvas. Okay. The first thing that you need to do is assemble the frame for your top. And the best place to do that is down on the ground, not up on the truck. So lay out your side rails, your front rail, and go ahead and bolt it together using the supplied hardware. Then mount the hoops to the framework and bolt them on. Then mount the spreader bars between the hoops. This will strengthen everything up. Finally, once you're sure everything is straight and true, all you have to do is tighten it all up. Ready? All right, now it's time to put this frame on the truck. Now, if you don't have a friend like Barry to help you out, well, you need to get one because he doesn't come with a kit and you can't have ours. Well, I guess for a price they could have it.
Oh, money always talks.
Yeah. All right, with the frame on the truck bed, just line it up using the cab as reference. How you looking over there, Barry?
I look good.
Okay. Once you're happy with your mounting location, it's time to drill. Yeah, you need to drill your bed, but here's a nice trick. Clamp everything in place so it doesn't move around on you. Now, where you drill your holes is entirely up to you, but I definitely recommend you stay out toward the ends as much as you can. Just make sure you don't have any kind of obstruction like this up underneath. Finally, bolt the frame down to the bed. With the frame bolted on, it's time for the fabric. Now, the first thing you need to do is decide where is the front, the back, the top, and the bottom, and then lay it over the frame. Now, don't be afraid to pull and tug on this fabric because it's so heavy duty, you're not going to rip it. The first thing that you're going to want to do is snap down all the corners, followed by the remainder of the snaps on the front and on the sides. Now, to get some tension in the top, we'll secure these straps around this center hoop. Now, you don't have to go crazy here and just crank down on these things. They just need to be firm. A tailgate flap is also held in place with snaps, and it goes right to this piece, which will mount to the tailgate. You see how it mounts. Unfortunately, this stock plastic piece is in the way, so that's got to come off, and they are held in place with some nasty adhesive. So once you get it off, make sure that you clean up the tailgate with some adhesive remover. Snap the strip to the flap, pull off the paper, then pull it tight and stick the strip to the tailgate. Now make sure you take your time here because you don't want to get it crooked. That looks good. Now, the final adjustment for the top comes with these ropes that are all four corners, and they take out all the final wrinkles. Look at that. It's like a covered wagon. Now, once you get these tied down, take this Velcro flap, tuck it inside here, and you're all done. Not bad for less than an hour's worth of work. That's what's cool about the CANvac. It disassembles down into that little pile that you saw earlier on the table, and you can also disassemble it out in the field. Can't do that with a fiberglass cap. Another option is that you can unsnap these sides and roll them up for a safari type vehicle. Now, one drawback to any kind of a soft top is it's not as secure because you can't lock it. Now, is this the end of Project High Sierra? No, we got more after the break.
Next, Stacy's a basket case, and he's going to add one up top for your junk, stuff. And later, it's Dodge's rare styling experiment, the Sweptside from 1959.
Welcome back to Trucks. We're right in the middle of putting the finishing touches on Project High Sierra. Now, there's no question that this soft top is very cool, but this is an outdoorsman's truck. We want to put skis and bicycles and canoes up on the top, which means we have got to have a roof rack. Now, I know what you're thinking. What, are you crazy? You can't put a roof rack on a soft top. Yes, you can, because this one is designed specifically for it. Now, the first thing you need to decide is how big a load you're going to carry. Now, if it's going to be fairly small, you'll probably want to use these close mounting points. But if it's going to be big like ours, you want to use a mounting point here in the rear and all the way in the front. With the top snapped down and tight, we are going to burn through the canvas for our mounting holes. Now, the reason that we're going to use heat is because this actually seals the edges of the hole together and keeps it from becoming a rip, which can happen if you cut your holes with a knife or a razor blade. Then lightly bolt the brackets on, slide in your bar, center everything up, and tighten it down. Now, this system is very strong, and it needs to be. Here's why. We went to Yakima and got one of their Mega Warrior baskets so we can carry all kinds of junk up on top of the truck. Now, this has an all-metal construction and all the brackets you're going to need to bolt this thing on. Installation is a lot easier than you think because this thing is not that heavy. Just slide it into place, center it up, and clamp it on. Now, Yakima gives you a lot of choices with these racks. You can get brackets for lights, bicycles, and as you can see, even canoes or kayaks. So are we done yet? No, not yet. We got two more things to do, and those are up on the front. We're going to replace that old stock hood with something cool, literally. So we went to Keystone Restyling Products and got one of their fully functional Ram Air Good hoods. Now, this thing bolts right in place of that old stalker, is made completely of fiberglass, has a fully finished back, and of course has a functional outlet for those twin scoops up on the top. Now, swapping out hoods is not hard, but you will need an extra set of hands. Just unbolt the old hood and install the new one using the factory hardware. Now, an important tip, make sure you check your alignment before you slam that hood down the first time, or you may end up damaging it. The second part of this hood install involves getting rid of this stock air box and putting on something that'll take advantage of this outlet that comes from the twin scoops. The new piece bolts right in place of the old one, has a rubber seal to seal it up against the hood, and finishes it all off with a high flow air filter. One last thing to do. Protect our front end. The last thing we're going to do is put on a brush guard to protect the front of our truck when we're out goofing around in the bushes. Now, we got this one from DZ. It's got an all-metal construction, and it extends all the way out to protect the lights and the fenders. Now it's coated with a nice thick powder coat to prevent scratches, and it also matches our sunroof and our rack. Hey, that kind of stuff's important too. Now putting the brush guard on is an honest-to-goodness bolt-on. You bolt the brackets to the frame, you bolt the brush guard to the brackets, and that's it. That also finishes up Project High Sierra. So, what do you think? Pretty cool, huh? Now, just in case you missed the build-up, here's a recap. We started out with a stock 99 GMC, put on a 6-inch lift front and rear, finished that off with 35-inch tires. Don't forget, put in a sliding sunroof, and that brings us up to what you saw today. Now, there is one last thing that we need to do. We need to take it out and put it through the paces, which is exactly what we're going to do without that canoe after the break. You don't want to miss it.
Next, we're going four-wheeling as we take Project High Sierra out of the shop and off-road for the first time. Just can't get enough of trucks? Check us out online at truckstv.com.
Welcome back to the show and the payoff of Project High Sierra. Now, there's no doubt this is a cool truck and something just about any outdoorsman would like to own. But is it functional? Is it something that you can really get there and back with, or is it just going to fall apart and leave us stranded on the side of the road? There's only one way to find out. Of course, the cap, the rack, and the sunroof have all been tested before, and they did exactly what they're supposed to do. The biggest test today will be the handling and off-road ability of the suspension. So we hit the trails to see how this truck responds when it gets its hands dirty. Now, a week of rain had left everything very muddy, exactly what you would expect when you venture into the wild. The first thing we checked were our approach and departure angles, and as you might expect, they were much better due to the lift. This allowed us to attack much steeper inclines without the front end digging in. Maneuverability on tight trails was a little challenging. The truck is not only long, but with the lift, the cap, and the rack, it's a big sucker too. And it seemed like every tree and bush was determined to get that rack off the top. It's a good thing we left the canoe at the shop. Ground clearance is excellent under the body panels, but since the torsion bars and traction bars hang lower in the middle, you're going to have to protect them from the rocks and from getting yourself high-centered. When things get twisty, like in deep ruts or creek beds, the Sierra will take some pretty good abuse. No, it's not a hardcore off-road vehicle, but it wasn't intended to be. But if you're not careful, it might try to convince you that it is. Mud. It's the one thing that everyone has to deal with when you go off-road. And this is where the High Sierra knocks it clear out of the ballpark. The lift, the long wheelbase, the lumpy mud tires, they'll keep you out of most sticky situations. Because the last thing you want to be doing when the fish are biting is digging your dang truck out of a mud hole. Well, there you have it, Project High Sierra. What a great, well-rounded vehicle. Now, do you have to have a truck like this to enjoy the outdoors? Well, no, but to get places like this you do, so go build you one.
After the break, it's one of the rarest trucks you'll ever see, the 1959 Dodge Sweptside. And now truck gear, parts, tools, and equipment for pickups and sport utilities.
Anytime you put on bigger tires, you run the risk of body damage. Ah, body damage! So you have three choices. You can hacksaw out the fender to make room for the bigger tires. You can continually fix the damage every time you do it. Or you can bolt on a set of Bushwhacker fender flares and be done with it. These just happen to fit an '88 Blazer. Now on a big flare like this, you cut out the fender to make room for the big tire, and then the flare covers that so you have a nice finished look. They also keep you from getting mud flipped up on the side of your truck. Now Bushwhacker makes a flare for almost every truck out there in various different widths, so give them a call. They'll be able to help you out. One of the biggest things that you can do to upgrade your interior is to put in a new set of seats. Now, if you're even thinking about doing this, you have got to check out these C5 seats from Steel Horse. Now, these are a sweet leather bucket seat that stylistically look just like a C5 Corvette seat, but these are made specifically for a truck. Now, they've got all the supports and the adjustments that you would expect in a high-performance bucket. Also comes with a folding console, carbon fiber, storage area, and of course these all-important cup holders. Now this whole setup run you about $1,200. Now that's not cheap, but have you priced a Corvette seat lately? Oh, these are great. I wonder if these will fit an '88 Blazer. All right, here's the deal. It's 1959 and you're in the market for a new pickup. Now you kind of like what Chevrolet's done with that new Cameo truck, but no Chevys, you're a Dodge man. So you're flipping through the brochure and all of a sudden, there it is, 59 Dodge Sweptside. You gotta have it. Sound like a dream? Well, maybe for you and me, but not for Jimmy Johnson. He doesn't have to look at pictures anymore because he's got the real thing. Check it out. In 1957, Dodge engineers were in a bind. They needed to come up with something to compete with Ford and Chevy, and the Sweptside was it. The front end had the high hood, low fender design, and it also hit the scene with quad headlights and a big chrome grille and bumper, all of which were extremely popular styling trends in the late 50s. Another signature styling mark was the two-tone paint job, and of course the Sweptside not only had that, but it also had special stainless trim that ran all the way down the side and into the bed. Of course, those wide white wall tires and chrome hubcaps were exactly what you wanted to cruise Maine, crank up Jerry Lee Lewis, and look cool with. Now in the 50s, trucks were still pretty much trucks, and the interior definitely shows that. There ain't no tuck and roll in here. Although extremely clean and restored to like new condition, it's pretty basic, with a painted metal dash, the old trusty 3-on-the-tree shifter, and of course a bench seat. However, it did have some luxury. It had a headliner and some door panels. Under the hood, I know you're thinking of Hemi, but no, nothing quite like that. But what we do have is a meticulously restored straight-six Dodge. And this is really cool because it's like a time capsule. It lets you see exactly what this looked like when they rolled off the showroom floor in 1959. Now the bed is where Dodge got a little crazy. Believe it or not, this thing is all steel. They took the rear fenders from a 57 two-door station wagon and grafted them onto the stock bed. Graceful stainless trim breaks up the two-tone paint job, and it all sweeps back into a big old rear fin that ends in about the wildest set of taillights ever designed. The chrome continued with a special rear bumper, and you had a modified tailgate which opens up to a perfectly restored bed and a painted wood floor. Now obviously the days of working are over for this old classic. The only thing it hauls now are a lot of first place trophies that it wins all over the country. Now you're probably wondering, all right, just how rare is this truck? Well, here's what we know. Production started mid-year 1957. It ended early 59, which makes the 59s the most rare because they only made them a couple months. Also, since all the Sweptside modifications were literally done by hand off of the production assembly line, well, nobody has the actual production numbers. So, how rare is this? Well, this is not the only 59 Sweptside ever made, but it's probably the only one you'll ever see.
Next week on Trucks, Stacy's pulling the bed off a 95 Ranger for Project Pre-Runner. And with some big new meats and cool new fenders, he's going to turn this tame truck into a street-legal desert flyer. Then we're going to the annual Street Rod Nationals for a look at some of the hottest and coolest show trucks on Earth. And finally, Stacy's got new trick parts for your ride in truck gear. That's all next week on Trucks. For a VHS copy of today's show, call toll-free 1-877-853-7260. Show videos are just $12.95 plus shipping and handling. Trucks is an RTM production.